even from our forefathers when we gained independence, one of the pillars that they were hell-bent on ensuring that they sort out was the issue of fighting ignorance, which is basically providing the population of this country with education. And over the years, Kenyans have proven to be extremely good in academic matters, because if you go all over the world, you find, excuse me, the best scholars are actually Kenyan. And that means basically we have the right people, we have the right breed for purposes education. But Madam Speaker, the government of the Republic of Kenya over the years has continuously, constantly bungled the matters of education. And Madam Speaker, I'm saying this because one of the things that you notice that over the years, systems of education keep changing. And you know, many times you cannot even get a clear-cut reason apparently for why the changes are occurring. I remember when I was young, there was systems that had existed before where the education system was such that there would be an exam, I think at standard 3 or grade 3 then, called intermediary, then there would be other exams going forward. I went through a system where we had seven years of primary, 4 of secondary, 2 of A-level, and 3 at the university. Afterwards, there is the one that they call the 844 system, which is now being scrapped for the new CBC. But Madam Speaker, you notice, every time we have these kind of changes, there's investments that are made that sometimes go to waste. If you go to our rural areas, most of our primary schools have got a classroom that existed that was called a workshop that was earlier used for pre-technical subjects, art and music and art and crafts, and now they are defunct, they're not being used. So a new system comes in, and we are supposed to now look for laboratories, look for extra classes. So, Madam Speaker, I think we need to be very, very careful to ensure that whatever system we come up with, we can live with it for a long, long time. If you go to the developed world, they don't keep changing the education system every 5 or 10 years or after every major election. We must come up with a policy in education that will last for time immemorial. So that if we are going to introduce any changes, they are minor, not major changes that will leave some of our facilities without being used. Madam Speaker, now the new system has reintroduced subjects like art, music, pre-technical, and these subjects require new facilities. The facilities that were not used for many years had already become, voided, and some of them had even been brought down. So, Madam Speaker, it's important that the government does a good job. I want to support the idea of the new education system. I think it's a brilliant idea. The CBC education system is very clear, and it's actually emulating some of the developed countries. But, Madam Speaker, as we emulate that, we must ensure that we do proper planning. And planning for education means that we deal with the issue of curriculum, the issue of staffing, and the issue of funding. Madam Speaker, that is where I feel that as a government, as a country, we have failed. Now, CBC started in 2015 with the PP1. 8 years later, we have never put in place plans for ensuring that we have enough classes, we have enough labs. We have not ensured that the teachers that are going to teach this system have been trained, because even now, what we are churning out of our education, our teacher training institutions, is still the training that is for 844. So it's really, really unfortunate. And Madam Speaker, what happened is that the government, in its knee-jerk responses, decided that we will train the teachers that will be teaching CBC. And the teachers that were taken for this training, which was just basically, in service training, for like a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, was generally for the teachers that were teaching lower primary schools. And Madam Speaker, what if the research shows that those teachers that were teaching lower primary schools are mostly the mature lady teachers, female teachers in our rural areas. And when they were taken for training, when they came back, they refused to teach that system and passed it on to the younger generation and told them it is you who can do this training. Unfortunately, that training actually went to waste. And so you find that many of the teachers that are involved, up to now, they don't understand the system. Now, JSS, Madam Speaker, is a very good concept. But Madam Speaker, there is a very major mess in the manner in which the JSS has been introduced. First, you remember, we were told that the junior secondary schools would be in secondary. And so every secondary school in Kenya was facilitated to put up a classroom. Madam Speaker, those classes up to now, we have very many questions about them because the funding was totally inadequate, and some of them are like a half of a classroom size. But they were built in secondary schools. Later on, another policy comes where we are supposed to do these schools, or rather these schools are supposed to be domiciled now in the primary section. And then there was a decision of which primary schools are the ones that will be allowed to host JSS. Madam Speaker, in my constituency, it is a shame that my top performing primary school was not qualified to be able to accommodate JSS. And then the children that were there in grade 6, when they went to grade 7, they were taken to some of the worst performing schools. And that is really demoralizing to the parents. So, Madam Speaker, I believe that this motion it speaks to the heart of the problem that we are facing, and that, Madam Speaker, what we require as a government now is to ensure that the policy is put in place and the facilities are put in place so that every child can be able to continue learning from where they started in primary, finish grade 6, go to grade 7, 8, and 9 within their primary schools, and finish so that they can go to secondary schools. Madam Speaker, it is possible because already every primary school has up to grade 8. So all they require is one extra class, and that is in another year and a half. And after that, they require one lab. I am certain that even from the money that we get under CDF, and with a little bit of support from the Ministry of Education, we can be able to make this dream come true. So I want to support, and I want to say that the honorable member thought through properly, and this is something that is worth emulating. That is why the people of Mbeere North have the right leader. Thank you, Madam Speaker.